Buckle up, everybody, because we're diving headfirst into the whirlwind of Bihar politics.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a wild ride.
It's a roller coaster of alliances and power plays and enough drama to make a Bollywood director blush.
You said it, Bihar politics are never boring, that's for sure.
So today we're going to break down three major developments. The first is the big question mark hanging over the NDA's choice for chief minister.
Right, the suspense is killing everyone.
And then we'll untangle the seat-sharing drama between the Congress and the RJD.
Ah, yes, their never-ending tango.
And last but not least, we're going to dig into that record-breaking budget that has everyone talking.
A budget bonanza right before elections. Color me shocked.
Well, let's start with the elephant in the room, shall we? Who will the NDA choose as their CM candidate for the 2025 election?
Yeah, you'd think it would be a no-brainer. Nitish Kumar, the current chief minister, seems like the obvious choice, but...
But the BJP is being super cagey about it.
Exactly. They've said they'll contest the elections under Nitish Kumar's leadership, but...
Yeah, but they're going to make the final decision after the election results are in.
Precisely. It's like they're saying, sure, he's our guy, but maybe not. Talk about keeping your options open.
It's like they're playing a game of political chess, and Nitish Kumar is the pawn.
Maybe even a sacrificial pawn.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about maintaining leverage. Depending on the results, they could easily decide to go with someone who's, a bit more aligned with their own ideology.
Ooh, that's got a sting for Nitish Kumar. To be leading the campaign without even knowing if he'll get to be CM if they win.
It definitely puts him in a precarious position.
So is this like what happened in Maharashtra a couple of years back,
Mm-hmm.
where the BJP basically ditched their ally after the elections?
You're exactly right. It's giving everyone major déjà vu. The BJP teamed up with a faction of the Shiv Sena, completely sidelining their original partner.
And it looks like Tejashwi Yadav, the leader of the RJD, is getting nervous. He's openly worried that the BJP is going to pull the same stunt in Bihar.
Can you blame him? It's a valid concern.
Even Nitish Kumar's own son, Nishant, is calling for his dad to be officially declared as the CM candidate.
Well, if there's that much pressure coming from within the family, imagine the tension within the NDA ranks.
This whole CM situation is like a ticking time bomb. It's making everyone nervous.
And it's definitely a major vulnerability for the NDA going into the elections. Voters might be hesitant to support a coalition where the leadership is so uncertain.
It's like going on a road trip with someone who refuses to tell you where you're going.
Exactly. You start to wonder, do they even know where they're going? Should I even be in this car?
It definitely raises questions about the NDA's stability and unity.
Right. And voters tend to prefer a party that projects an image of strength and decisiveness. This whole CM conundrum does the opposite. It creates doubt and uncertainty.
So the BJP is playing it close to the chest, leaving everyone guessing, and it could backfire on them.
Absolutely. It's a risky strategy, especially in a state like Bihar, where political loyalties can shift quickly.
All right, so let's move on to the opposition Grand Alliance, specifically the Congress and the RJD. They're trying to finalize a seat-sharing agreement for the election. But it seems like they're stuck in a never-ending loop of negotiations.
It's the political equivalent of trying to parallel park in a crowded city. You think you finally found the perfect spot, and then someone else swoops in and takes it.
And then you have to start the whole process over again.
Exactly. And with the elections just a few months away, they're running out of time.
Well, the Congress is aiming high this time around. They want 40 to 50 seats, a huge jump from the measly 19 they won in the last election.
Ambition is a good thing, right?
Sure, but their recent track record doesn't exactly inspire confidence.
Well, they know that a strong showing in Bihar would give them a lot more clout on the national stage.
Right, it would bolster their position within the Grand Alliance and maybe even give them more leverage with the RJD.
It's all about relevance for the Congress, both in Bihar and on the national scene.
But here's the kicker. They haven't even set a date for their seat-sharing meeting with the RJD. It's like they're deliberately dragging their feet.
Well, this delay speaks volumes about the delicate dance of coalition politics in India.
Each party wants a bigger slice of the pie than they deserve.
Pretty much. The Congress wants to assert its newfound ambition, while the RJD, being the dominant force, wants to maintain control.
So while the NDA is grappling with its CM dilemma, the opposition Grand Alliance is locked in its own power struggle. It's pre-election drama at its finest.
Wouldn't expect anything less from Bihar politics, would you?
It's like a reality TV show we can't stop watching, full of twists, turns, and unexpected alliances.
And just when you think you figured it out, they throw another curveball your way.
Okay, so let's move on to the big ticket item that has everyone buzzing, that record-breaking budget of a whopping Rs 3.15 lakh crore. I mean, that's the largest in Bihar's history.
Yeah, and it's conveniently dropped right before the elections. Talk about strategic timing.
It's as subtle as a fireworks display on New Year's Eve.
Exactly. It's a classic move to showcase all the great things the government's done and to dangle all these promises of a brighter future right before voters head to the polls.
Like waving a giant bag of candy in front of a bunch of kids.
You got it. It's all about creating that feel-good factor, that sense of hope and optimism that might just sway those undecided voters.
So let's break down this budget bonanza. Where exactly are they funneling all this money? What sectors are getting the royal treatment?
Well, they're hitting all the major pressure points: education, healthcare, road construction, rural development, and of course, social and minority welfare. It's like a greatest hits compilation of all the things that matter to voters.
A strategic masterpiece designed to appeal to the widest possible audience.
Exactly. They're trying to cover all their bases and leave no voter group feeling neglected.
So it's a calculated move to shower voters with goodies in the hopes that they'll return the favor on Election Day.
That's politics for you. It's a delicate dance between fulfilling the needs of the people and securing those precious votes.
Okay, but let's dig a little deeper into these specific sectors, starting with education. Are they promising new schools, better facilities, more teachers? What's the plan?
They're going all out. New schools, renovated classrooms, upgraded equipment, the works. They're even talking about implementing new teacher training programs to improve the quality of education.
Wow, so they're really trying to give education a major boost.
Absolutely. It's a smart move because education is a hot-button issue for voters. They want their children to have access to good quality education.
It's seen as the key to a brighter future.
Exactly. And by making education a priority, the government is signaling that they care about the future of Bihar and its young people.
Okay, so education is getting a makeover. What about healthcare? What are they doing to address those concerns about access and quality of care, especially in rural areas?
Well, they're promising to revamp hospitals, equip them with the latest technology, bring in more doctors and nurses, especially in those underserved rural areas.
That sounds promising. But is it really feasible to overhaul the entire healthcare system in such a short amount of time, especially in a state as vast and complex as Bihar?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one thing to make these grand pronouncements and allocate funds, but actually implementing them effectively, that's a whole other challenge.
It's easy to write a check, but following through and making sure that money is used wisely and efficiently, that's where the real work begins.
Exactly. And that's what voters will be watching closely. They want to see tangible improvements, not just empty promises.
All right, so we've talked about education, healthcare. What about the classic election promise? Better roads, is that on the menu as well?
Oh, you bet. It's a staple of every election campaign, and this one is no different. They're promising new highways, wider roads, and more bridges to improve connectivity across the state.
It's the if you build it, they will come approach to winning elections.
Exactly. And it often works. People are tired of bumpy rides and pothole-ridden roads. They want smooth, efficient transportation, and that's something politicians can easily capitalize on.
It's a tangible, visible sign of progress that voters can appreciate.
Precisely. And it's a way for the government to show that they're investing in the state's infrastructure and its future.
Okay, but roads are just one piece of the puzzle. What about other crucial infrastructure needs, like electricity, water supply, and sanitation? Are they getting their fair share of attention in this budget?
Well, those are definitely valid concerns, and the budget does mention allocations for rural electrification and improved water management.
But the devil's in the details, right?
Always. We'll have to wait and see how much they're actually allocating to these critical areas and how effectively those funds are used.
So while roads get the spotlight, the less glamorous but equally important aspects of infrastructure might end up being neglected.
It's a classic case of prioritizing the flashy, voter-pleasing projects over the essential but less visible ones.
Okay, let's shift our focus to rural development, which is a major issue in a state like Bihar, where a large portion of the population lives in rural areas. What's the budget offering them?
Well, they're really pushing agricultural initiatives. Subsidies for farmers, crop insurance schemes, investment in irrigation projects. They're also talking about boosting rural employment through skill development programs and encouraging small-scale industries in rural areas.
So a multi-pronged approach to improve the lives of those living in rural communities.
Exactly. They're trying to address the specific needs and concerns of rural voters, who are often overlooked by urban-centric development policies.
It's a recognition that the rural vote is crucial for any party that wants to win in Bihar.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that development shouldn't just be concentrated in cities. It needs to reach every corner of the state.
And finally, let's talk about social and minority welfare. How's the budget addressing these areas?
Well, they're emphasizing targeted programs for marginalized communities, scholarships for minority students, housing schemes for low-income families, skill development initiatives for marginalized groups, and financial assistance for vulnerable populations.
So it's about ensuring that development reaches all segments of society and leaves no one behind.
Precisely. It's about promoting inclusivity and addressing social inequalities.
But there's always a risk that these programs become politicized, used more for electoral gains than genuine social upliftment.
That's a valid concern, and it's something that needs to be closely monitored.
We need to ensure that these funds actually reach the intended beneficiaries and make a real difference in their lives.
Absolutely. Accountability and transparency are crucial. We can't just take the government's word for it. We need to see evidence of real change on the ground.
So we've got this massive budget brimming with promises and targeted spending, all neatly timed before the election. It's like a grand performance designed to woo voters.
It's a calculated gamble, hoping that voters will be impressed enough to reward them with another term.
But the real question is, will this translate into real, lasting improvements in people's lives? Or will it just be another case of pre-election hype followed by post-election disappointment?
That's the question that will be answered in the months to come.
But one thing's for sure, Bihar's political landscape is as unpredictable as ever.
It's a roller coaster ride that never seems to end.
And we're strapped in for the long haul.
Absolutely. Get ready for more twists, turns, and unexpected developments as the election season heats up. It really makes you wonder about the long game, you know? Can Bihar actually sustain this level of spending without consequences down the line?
That's a great question. It's a massive amount of money. Where's it all coming from? Can Bihar really afford this kind of spending spree without ending up in a financial hole?
Well, the Deputy CM, Samrat Chaudhry, who also happens to be the finance minister, is going to break it all down for us on March 3rd. I'm sure it'll be a grand presentation, full of promises and projections.
It's all part of the show, isn't it? Got to create that buzz, make headlines, and project that image of a government that's getting things done.
Exactly. It's about generating that sense of optimism, even if it's temporary. A big budget like this can make people feel like things are looking up, you know?
Hey, at least they're spending money, right?
Exactly. It's a psychological game.
So let's delve into some of these sectors they're prioritizing. You mentioned education earlier. Are they really planning a complete overhaul of the education system?
They're saying all the right things. Building new schools, expanding existing ones, upgrading facilities, and even introducing new teacher training programs.
Sounds impressive. But it's not just about shiny new buildings, right? What about the actual quality of education? Are they addressing issues like outdated teaching methods or the shortage of qualified teachers, especially in rural areas?
That's where the rubber meets the road, isn't it? We need to look beyond the flashy announcements and see what concrete steps they're taking to actually improve the learning experience for students.
Yeah, they could build 1,000 schools. But if the teaching methods are stuck in the past and there aren't enough good teachers, it won't make much of a difference.
You hit the nail on the head.
And speaking of essential services, what about healthcare? They're making some big promises there, particularly when it comes to improving access in rural areas.
Healthcare is a hot topic these days, especially after the pandemic. The government knows they're under scrutiny, and they're trying to reassure voters that they're taking it seriously.
So they're promising upgrades to hospitals, new equipment, more doctors and nurses in rural areas.
Yeah, it all sounds good on paper, but the question is, can they actually deliver? Can they really transform the healthcare system in such a short time frame, especially in a state as vast and complex as Bihar?
It's a tall order for sure. And voters will be watching to see if they can live up to these promises.
They'll have to move beyond rhetoric and show some concrete results.
Okay, let's move on to something a little less complicated. Roads. It's the classic election promise, and it seems like they're throwing a lot of money at infrastructure projects.
Oh yeah, the Better Roads Pledge. It's a timeless classic. It's something voters can actually see and experience, so it's a great way to score political points.
Like new highways, wider roads, more bridges.
Exactly. It's all about improving connectivity, reducing travel time, and giving people that sense of progress.
But roads are just one aspect of infrastructure. What about other essential services like electricity, water supply, and sanitation? Are they getting enough attention?
That's a good point. While the budget does mention allocations for rural electrification and water management, the details are a bit vague.
So it's possible that these essential but less glamorous areas might end up being sidelined in favor of the more attention-grabbing projects.
It's a common pattern, unfortunately.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Now, Bihar has a significant rural population, and their concerns are unique. What's this budget doing to address the specific needs of rural communities?
Well, they're really highlighting those agricultural initiatives, things like subsidies for farmers, crop insurance schemes, investment in irrigation projects. They're also talking about creating more jobs in rural areas through skill development programs and support for small-scale industries.
So it's about recognizing that rural development is crucial for Bihar's overall progress.
Exactly. It's about bridging that urban-rural divide and ensuring that everyone benefits from economic growth.
And that rural votes are crucial for any party hoping to win.
Absolutely. They can't afford to alienate such a large segment of the electorate.
All right, finally, let's talk about social and minority welfare. How are they planning to support these communities?
They're talking about targeted programs, things like scholarships for minority students, housing schemes for low-income families, skill development programs for marginalized groups, and financial assistance for those in need.
It sounds like they're trying to be inclusive and address social inequities.
That's the idea. But we have to be cautious. It's easy to make promises, but it's much harder to actually implement these programs effectively and ensure that the benefits reach the intended recipients.
We've seen it happen before. Programs that sound great on paper but fail to deliver in reality because of corruption, mismanagement, or just plain inefficiency.
Exactly. We need to hold the government accountable and make sure that these programs are actually making a difference in people's lives.
So to sum it up, we've got this massive budget full of promises and ambitious plans. It's a clear attempt to woo voters ahead of the election. But the real test will be whether these promises translate into real, tangible improvements for the people of Bihar.
The voters will ultimately decide whether this budget is a genuine commitment to progress or just another pre-election gimmick.
It's a high-stakes game,
Yeah.
and the stakes couldn't be higher for the people of Bihar.
They deserve a government that delivers on its promises and works tirelessly to improve their lives.
Well said. Now, we've talked a lot about the big picture, the NDA's CM dilemma, the opposition's seat-sharing struggles, and this record-breaking budget. But let's zoom in a bit. Bihar's political landscape is a fascinating mix of regional dynamics and caste calculations. How do these factors come into play in this election?
You're absolutely right. Bihar's politics is like a microcosm of India's complex social and political fabric. It's a tapestry woven with threads of caste, religion, regional identities, and local issues. And understanding these nuances is crucial for deciphering the electoral chess game that's about to unfold.
Let's start with the region of Simanchal. It's a Muslim-majority area in northeastern Bihar, and it's traditionally been an RJD stronghold. But lately, the BJP has been making some inroads there. What's their strategy?
They're trying to soften their image, downplaying the hardline Hindutva rhetoric and emphasizing development and inclusivity.
It's a delicate balancing act, isn't it? Trying to appeal to Muslim voters without alienating their core Hindu base.
Exactly. One wrong move, and they could end up losing more than they gain.
It's a high-wire act, for sure.
Definitely.
Another key region is the Kosi Belt. It's notorious for its floods and its complex caste equations. It's been a battleground for the JDU, the RJD, and the BJP. What are the main factors at play there?
Caste is a major factor in the Kosi Belt. The Yadav community, which is the RJD's traditional vote bank, is a dominant force there.
But the JDU has also been making inroads among the Yadavs in recent years, right?
Exactly. Which makes the contest even more unpredictable. And then you have the BJP, who's actively trying to woo non-Yadav OBC communities.
So it's a three-way tug-of-war, with each party trying to outmaneuver the others.
Pretty much. It's all about shifting alliances and appealing to different caste groups to try and gain an edge.
And then there's the Magadh region, which is often seen as the political heartland of Bihar. It's been a JDU stronghold for a while, but the RJD seems to be gaining ground there. What's driving that shift?
Well, the Magadh region has a large population of Dalits and extremely backward classes, or EBCs, and both the JDU and the RJD are trying to win their support.
So it's a battle for the votes of those who have traditionally been marginalized.
Exactly. They're realizing that these communities hold a lot of electoral power, and they're trying to tap into that.
It's a reminder that demographics and social dynamics are constantly evolving, and political parties have to adapt or risk becoming irrelevant.
You're absolutely right. It's not enough to rely on old formulas and traditional vote banks anymore. You have to understand the changing aspirations and concerns of the people.
Okay, so we've talked about regional dynamics and caste calculations, but there's another crucial piece of the puzzle. The voters themselves. What are their top concerns? What do they want from the leaders who are asking for their votes?
Well, at the end of the day, it's the voters who hold the power. They're the ones who will decide the fate of these parties and their leaders. So understanding their priorities is essential for any party that wants to win their trust.
So let's try to step into the shoes of the average Bihari voter. What are the issues that are keeping them up at night?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is unemployment. Bihar has a large and growing young population, and job creation is a major issue. Many young people, even those with college degrees, are struggling to find decent work.
It's a frustration that's felt across India, not just in Bihar. Young people are feeling increasingly disillusioned and hopeless.
They're starting to wonder if education is even worth it if it doesn't lead to a good job.
So any party that wants to connect with young voters needs to address this issue head-on with concrete plans and solutions.
Absolutely. They need to show that they understand the anxieties of young people and that they're committed to creating opportunities for them.
Another major concern is infrastructure. Bihar has lagged behind other states in terms of infrastructure development, and this has hampered economic growth and quality of life.
You're right. The lack of good roads, reliable electricity, clean water, and proper sanitation is a constant source of frustration for people in Bihar. It affects their daily lives, their businesses, their access to education and healthcare, everything.
It's a reminder that development isn't just about big numbers and flashy projects. It's about improving the basic quality of life for ordinary people.
Exactly.
Now, while the budget allocates a significant amount of money for education, the quality of education, especially in rural areas, remains a concern.
That's right. Building new schools is one thing, but ensuring that those schools have qualified teachers, decent facilities, and a curriculum that's relevant to the needs of the 21st century is another challenge altogether.
And then, of course, there's healthcare, which is always a major issue, especially in rural areas where access to quality care is often limited.
People want affordable, accessible health care. They want well-equipped hospitals, qualified doctors, and essential medicines within their reach.
It's a fundamental right, but sadly, it's often denied to those who need it most, especially in rural communities.
Yes, and it's something that weighs heavily on the minds of voters, especially those who have personally experienced the difficulties of accessing quality health care.
And we can't forget about corruption, which has been a persistent problem in Bihar for decades. The perception that corruption is rampant has eroded public trust in the government and created a sense of cynicism among voters.
Corruption is a cancer that eats away at society. It diverts resources that could be used for development, it undermines the rule of law, and it creates a culture of impunity.
People are tired of empty promises and grand pronouncements. They want to see real action to tackle corruption and hold those in power accountable.
They want a government that's transparent, efficient, and genuinely committed to serving the people, not just lining their own pockets.
So we've got unemployment, infrastructure, education, healthcare, and corruption. These are the issues that matter to the people of Bihar, the issues that will ultimately determine the outcome of this election.
And any party that wants to win the hearts and minds of voters needs to address these concerns with concrete plans, realistic solutions, and a genuine commitment to making things better.
It's not just about winning an election. It's about building a better future for Bihar and its people.
Absolutely. It's about creating a state where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, where everyone has access to basic necessities, and where everyone feels like their voice matters.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of Bihar politics.
It's been a pleasure exploring the complexities and contradictions of this vibrant state with you.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the NDA's CM dilemma and the opposition's seat-sharing struggles to that record-breaking budget and the issues that are top of mind for voters.
It's clear that this election is going to be a nail-biter, with no clear frontrunner and a lot at stake for everyone involved.
But beyond the political maneuvering and the electoral calculations, what matters most is the well-being of the people of Bihar.
They deserve leaders who will put their interests first, who will work tirelessly to address their concerns, and who will strive to build a brighter future for all.
So as the election campaign heats up, remember to stay informed, engage with the process, and make your voice heard.
Democracy thrives on active participation, so let's make our choices count.
And on that note, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery. We hope you've gained some valuable insights into the world of Bihar politics.
It's a world that's constantly evolving, full of surprises and unexpected twists and turns. But one thing's for sure, it's never dull.
And we'll be here to guide you through it all. So stay tuned for more deep dives into the most captivating stories from around the world. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open.